Welcome back to my channel. Not Ralph's Garage, but Ralph's temporary home. It's been a while since I gave an update on the truck. I wanted to let y'all know I am still working on it. I'm primarily collecting parts right now, and I'm getting close to being able to do a lot of work on the truck. Well, let me show you what I have. I have quite the collection of parts here, so let's check it out, and then we'll get into doing a little work on the fuel tank. So let me show you what parts pile. We'll start down here. I got some paints, shocks, LS motor mounts. I have sound deadener for the cab. This I'm pretty excited about. This is an entire wiring kit for every wire in the truck. So everything, right? All the way from tail lights to headlights and everything in between. This is a horn button. Got that on eBay. We'll see if we can get that to work. The radio, but it has an aux input, but it looks and fits like the factory radio. Transmission lines and fittings for a transmission cooler. Fuel system, fuel lines, fittings. The Corvette regulator, which I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. Depends on the engine that I get. If it has a returnless system, I'll use that. Holley Terminator X Max. And the associated wiring and all that for it. This is a Holley EFI Conversion tank. This mounts under the bed in the back of the truck. Now this would be the back of the truck. This would be the driver's side. And it comes with, I think this is a 255 liter per hour fuel pump. Will be plenty for this easy NA build. Comes with the float, the sending unit, all that jazz. And then I have two options for the fill port. I can come straight up into the bed and fill from the bed, which I want to avoid doing that just because, you know, if I have stuff in the bed, I don't want to have to move it to fill the tank. So I picked up this guy, which is a side fill neck. This would go here, and I just have to figure out a fill cap on the side of the bed, so then don't have to worry about emptying the bed. But that's what we're working on today. We're going to set this tank up. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. So let's get started. So I'm going to show you how to set this up. First we'll go over what is included in the kit. You get a bunch of instructions. You'll want these. This is like a fuel filler extension, which would go on here to extend it through the wood. We're going to set this and this off to the side for now. And this is hardware and gaskets for the filler, and also for the fuel pump sending unit. And then over here will be the float, which will tell you how much fuel. This is the fuel pump sending unit. It comes like this. You will need to buy these fittings separately, which I can link them in the description, but I basically just got these from Amazon. They're going to screw in there and adapt this to the fuel lines that you want to use, whichever size. I'm using 6AN, and then you're going to want a little tape on those. So we're going to set those off to the side for now. A fuel pump. Now you can select which pump you want when you pick your tank out. I went with the 255 because this is a pretty basic. It's either going to be a 5.3 or a 6.0. I haven't decided yet. Like a sock that goes around the pump, hose clamp, and this is your wiring. So the wiring is actually pretty cool. The way this works, you can stick your wires in the bottom here through the holes, and they come out the top, and then you just tighten these two fittings down on the wire, and that basically makes it sealed. So that's pretty cool. Little sock goes on the bottom of the pump. Fuel level sending unit and the float. It comes with this little shaft in here that you take out and you put your float in. There's some measuring that you have to do to figure out exactly where to put this. We're going to take care of that. We're going to go step by step in the manual on what it requires for doing that. We're most likely going to have to cut this bracket and move this up because I think the tank is obviously fits all the way down, but you need it to be, I think, like at the halfway point. Oh boy. What did I do? There we go. Set that off to the side. It also comes with a check valve. So this will connect to the vent, and then you'll put this up above your fuel filler, wherever that's at. This would be like an inch or two above it, connected to that with a hose. So we'll set that off to the side for now. First thing I want to work on is getting the fuel pump mounted in there. So to do that, we need to measure how deep our tank is, 9 7/8, and then you want to add like an 1/8 inch for the thickness of your gasket. So I'm going to say that that's 10 inches. So we got to assemble our fuel pump and measure its length so that we can cut this and get it so that the pump sits right at that 10-inch mark. So let's just take this cap off the bottom. We want to put the sock on because that's part of the whole deal. Before we put the sock on, I'm going to put this little kind of like a pump blanket on there. Not really sure what it's for. Maybe that's to help quiet it down or keep it cool. Not sure. Never used a little pump blanket like that before. So to put this on, you just push it on. There it is. Make sure it's on there good, and you can rotate it to whichever way fits. And now we're going to measure the height of this. So I'm measuring right to the beginning of the pump output here. Right there to the beginning of the pump output. And that is 4.5 inches. So 10 minus 4.5 is going to be 5.5. So this, we got to come up 5.5. And we're going to cut it. So let me go ahead and cut this. I'm just using some trauma shears because I have them on me. They do a pretty good job. Pretty much can cut through anything with that. Before you slide your pump on, make sure you put your hose clamp on. And now we just slide the pump onto there. Requires a little bit of work. So now let's take a measurement. See, we're at about 9 3/4 to the base of the sock. So that's going to be close enough. I'm going to cut the return line. So it's here, and I'm going to do it on an angle so that it dumps the fuel back at the sock. Get a couple zip ties and snip those. And then you just tighten these down. I'm not going to worry about tightening them at this moment. Here is the pickup, and it is ready to go. I just need to put the gasket on, which now we're ready to put this in the tank. Okay, now the sending unit is installed. Let's move on to the float, the level indicator. I'm going to pre-read the directions so it looks like I know what I'm doing. just going to put this tube on. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to work on installing the float. Again, we're going to need our measuring tape. The float's pretty simple. It seems a little complicated, but they give you this chart. Holley provides this chart, and you have different dimensions. So A is your tank depth. B is the float pivot depth, which is how deep this pivot point is in the tank. C is the float arm length, and that's it. The rest of this is just bigger dimensions. So it goes, 6 through 11 and a half, and then 12. So it's just A repeated. So you only need these first three for me. So let's figure out our tank depth, which we did already. It was 10. Yep, still 10. So it's 9 7/8 plus our gasket puts us right at 10. So if we're at 10 inches on the tank depth, our float pivot point should be 5 inches. So we're going to need to shorten this guy up. What I'm going to do is mark 5 inches. Probably going to end up cutting this. So 5 inches. Take these screws out. Really wish I had a screwdriver here, but make it do with the pivot. Needs to be here where that black mark is. So I'm going to lop off the bottom of this. And in order to do that, I have cut off grinder, which I'm going to end up going outside for that. So give me 1 second. So I'm going to take this outside. I'm going to lop this off, and I'll be back. Okay, so cut that off. Now this can go in here, and put some screws back in there. Okay, right on 5. Let's lock this down. We have our pivot depth set to 5 inches. We're at 10 inches of tank depth, 5 inches of float pivot depth. The float arm length should be 6.4 inches. Gonna measure 6. I'm gonna just guesstimate, a little less than 6.5. And I'm gonna go cut this with the grinder. I'm literally using a grinder inside of a hotel room, so it's probably okay. So they give you this kind of dummy one. We're gonna take that out. And this thing's labeled float side. So we'll lock this down. And something I just thought of, maybe you want to leave this, maybe leave a 1/2 inch longer. I cut it kind of exactly where I need it, which was dumb. So now this needs to fit in that hole, like that. So I'm just going to go over it, make sure everything's tight. All right, so now it should fit right in this hole. And some screws. This is an 18-gallon Holley EFI conversion tank for my truck, for 64 GMC or any of the trucks of that body style. I'm just going to snug these down a little bit just so that I don't lose the wires inside the tank. Obviously, I suggest you having the right tools. I'm kind of doing this with what I have, but that'll keep them from going in and out. You can wire in your fuel pump. You can wire in your pickup. They have pickups that work with the original gauge cluster. I'm going to be using a Holley. Probably most likely going to be going with Dakota digital gauges, so I can make this work. And that's it. My fuel tank is assembled. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, checking out the channel, all that jazz. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. A lot of work's coming on the truck soon. I'm basically, collecting parts, and then it's going to be a mad dash to put it together. Stick around. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you know when I do upload the next one, and I'll see y'all later. Hey guys, here it is, the 6-liter with the 4L80. It's out of an express van, so it has like a 6-foot long dipstick on it. It's literally the longest dipstick I've ever seen. But it makes sense because one of those vans you can really only get to here. Anything back you got to get from in the cab. But looks like a super clean engine.